With Boruto 2 Blue Vortex Chapter 8, the story's finally given us that inevitable moment that we've been waiting for throughout the events of the last 4 manga chapters, which is after getting that reveal that Jura and the other Shinjuu are continuing their awakening by going on side quests to devour the people who have strong connections for. Matsuri wanting Konohamaru, Bug wanting Ada, Hidari wanting Sarada, and Jura wanting Naruto. These Shinjuu have arrived in Konoha looking for their targets. However, one thing that does need to get brought up for the discussion is the fact that Jura versus Daemon might be a very real matchup that might end up having to have a real consider for a possibility after the end of the last chapter, which is why in today's video we're going to be taking a deep dive into the significance of Jura versus Daemon and the seeds that have been planted for it to be one swerve that many of us might not have seen coming. As a reminder, if you've not seen the chapter review for Chapter 8 of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, make sure to check it out down in the description box. So with Jura versus Daemon, there's a few things narratively that make this something that could work in the story that we have to take a look at. At the end of Boruto Naruto Next Generations, we knew where people like Boruto and Kawaki stood on the totem pole, and Daemon was the one at the very top. Like he told Code, it doesn't matter who's in second place or third place because he will always be the one that's first. And we got a very casual line from Daemon that he's never used his full power at any point in the franchise, and he was looking forward to fighting Boruto in return because he expected Boruto to be strong enough to handle his full power. When we look at how the narrative has built up Boruto, he came back strong enough that one of the first things that many people did was pit him against a hypothetical matchup against Daemon because it was an open plot point that never got addressed. It was set up at the end. It was something teasing us for the future, but now fans, they got a glimpse of what Boruto could do, and it's something a lot of fans, myself included, want to see. Boruto without using his full power. He was bullying White Karma Seal Code, who scales above Jigen but below Ishiki, and worst of all, Boruto was doing it in base without any issues. While I don't make the argument, one could argue he had a much easier time taking out Code than Daemon did during their battle, but the story started out giving us a comp of Boruto bullying someone who Daemon bullied. Then we saw Boruto battle against the Shinjuu, and we saw Boruto, for whatever reason, whether it be him getting caught off guard or getting surprised, Boruto found himself getting pushed in base against these Shinjuu. Now we have Jura pulling up into Konoha with the express intent to capture Naruto. One of the first things we see him do is literally put Kawaki to sleep. Despite Kawaki being in battle with his Karma Seal activated, we see Kawaki get clean knocked across the village into the water tank and knocked out so cold that Delta is screaming for Kawaki to wake up. It was only 2 hits, but sometimes a few hits is all you need to establish dominance over someone and let readers know exactly where someone falls on the scaling charts. For a classic example being how in the manga, Jigen at full power, so this would be Horned Karma Seal Jigen, he only needed 2 full power hits to leave Sasuke unable to stand back up, coughing his own blood up and laying in a puddle of that blood as a result of the attack. One of them being so hard it shattered his perfect Susanoo that Jigen was just mocking. This same Jigen only needed 3 direct hits at full power in order to knock out Naruto, including one that made his Kurama avatar explode, and with those 3 hits left Naruto knocked out of his chakra mode, unable to stand back up, coughing up blood, thinking to himself that Jigen was just too strong and Naruto was struggling to pull himself back up on all fours. Sometimes you don't need a ton of hits to show how strong you are, particularly when you're hitting someone hard enough that their durability bar is destroyed to 0 in only a few hits, which that's a video game reference where say you go on a floor boss and you don't have enough experience points, so the boss takes you out very quickly at 1, 2, 3, 4, however many hits. Right now Jura, he's on that type of timing. He takes out Kawaki in the same number of hits that Jigen took out Sasuke in the manga. While we haven't seen Boruto fight against Jura, we don't need to because Boruto ran away before it got to that point, albeit he was following the very wise orders of Kashi and Koji, but the point stands, we never saw them fight. That brings us to Daemon versus Jura. The previous information is exactly why you consider the possibility of these two fighting, because what it does is it adds another layer to the battles and to the scaling. Daemon ended part 1 as the strongest fighter, but we had Pandora's box in that we've never seen his full power. That's a Chekhov's gun. You don't mention something like that without us eventually seeing his full power. All that we knew is that he was one of the several humans who Amato made into cyborgs who was stronger than Jigen but weaker than Ishiki, but was in possession of Hack's abilities via Shibai's DNA being transplanted into their bodies as a binding agent, the opposite of the car inners. We have the Hashirama cells as part of the nanotech that Amato to pump in their body. We don't know how far above Jigen someone like Daemon scaled, nor do we know how close to Ishiki Daemon was. So if Jigen on a scale from a hypothetical 1 to 10 was a 7 and Ishiki was a 10, then was Daemon a 7.5? Is Daemon an 8? Is he a 9? Is he a 10, but he's a weak 10 or a mid-range 10, a lower tier 10? We don't know. Like, say how the Gold and Silver brothers would be considered lower Kage tier, but then someone like Curse Mark Stage 2 Sasuke with Orochimaru absorbed, or Pain Arc Kakashi would be someone in that middle Kage tier range where they're above people like the Gold and Silver brothers, but they're below people like the full power Tendo Path Pain that has all the 6 paths of Pain's chakra, or Sage Mode Pain Arc Naruto, or 5 Kage Summit Sasuke, and well below freaking demigods like KCM1 Minato and upper tier 6 paths characters like DMS Kakashi. There are levels to it. Right now with Daemon, you have a good chance to establish all that. A better chance than you do if you have Daemon using full power to protect someone like Ada from Bug, which in my honest opinion, this is just my opinion here, Bug being the one to force Daemon to use full power because his sister is a target, it has the highest form of payoff for Daemon to be used to in this manner. I like it a whole hell of a lot more than Daemon versus Jura, considering the fact that Daemon used to torment Bug, to Ada being referred to as someone who has Daemon as one of her knights that's meant to protect her, to Bug targeting Ada. That feels like it writes itself. It has the highest form of payoff. That's like if we get to book a fantasy WrestleMania match, I'd be booking Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins. That story tells itself. Roman Reigns versus The Rock. The story tells itself. There's a lot of history there. But the one reason I throw Jura out as a possibility is going to be this. Taking aside the fact that we've directly scaled Jura against Kawaki and Daemon is the only one left in the village that's stronger than Kawaki who can take on Jura, I want to point this out. Daemon has been shown as having a very strong interest in Himawari that could be a solid trigger from a narrative perspective. Jura is currently staring down Himawari and is confused as to why he can sense Biju chakra inside of her. Daemon in universe, in the Boruto Naruto Next Generation's manga, at the end, he was the first person to sense Himawari had a hidden power inside of her. Though, if you wanna count the manga one-shot that Masashi Kishimoto drew for the day that Naruto became Hokage, which was included in the Boruto movie theatrical release in Japan, which if you saw that movie in the theaters, you got the data book and you got that one-shot manga. You can go with that since it's technically Boruto era content, but the point still stands. Daemon was one of the first people to sense that Himawari was special. We know that the one thing that excites Daemon more than anything else, it isn't animal crackers, it isn't juice boxes, it's getting a good challenge so he can show off his full power, because he's never been given the scenario where he could do that. This might very well be that one moment that he's been waiting on, and it would tie back into something that was teased earlier on in Boruto Naruto Next Generations. Ada never wanted to release Daemon. She was extremely reluctant to do so, and there's a lot about Daemon and Ada during that build-up of them being sealed away that we never saw explored or explained. But longtime viewers of the channel know that a couple of years ago, I did a very in-depth video explaining how their sibling relationship and how we were introduced to them very, very closely mirrored that of the relationship between Amaterasu and Susanoo from Japanese Shinto religion, which I'll leave that video linked in the description box to anyone who's curious about it. And really and truly, since that video focused a lot on the connection that Sarda has with Ada and Daemon based off of that religion, I might do a solo video going more in depth on Ada and Daemon as a standalone in terms of the Shinto connections, because there's a lot there that I didn't touch on because I was worried more so about the length of the video. Which, side note, I know based off of what some of my patrons told me, apparently that thumbnail pissed off a bunch of people, which, wow, as long as the thumbnail reflects the content of the video, there should be no problem with it. I actually think it's pretty cool that, like, hey, I'm getting custom art drawn to fit the topic of the video, and for stuff like light novels where scenes were not adapted in the anime, I'm actually getting them drawn for the thumbnail. That way you can at least kind of see what's talking about since it hadn't been animated. But this wasn't in the anime, therefore it must be clickbait. No, you stupid SOB. It just means that there's stuff that you don't know happened that I'm discussing, therefore I'm getting custom artwork done. But I'm gonna get off the soapbox in a second and wrap the video up, because I just want to clear up some of the misconceptions out there, because you still got people that don't understand the first half of the month. We go back and forth on Naruto and Boruto content where you get video essays and what ifs and stuff like the honest truth Truth videos, which those have custom artwork on the thumbnails as well. And then the second half of the month, you get videos like this where we discuss the stuff in the Boruto manga chapter. That's why all those comments of how is he uploading during the 3-month Boruto break didn't make sense, because this has never been a Boruto only channel. It's always been a goal of mine to make this channel what Stupendous Wave is to the Star Wars community, where there's a lot of lore videos, and then you also have what ifs, and then you also have discussions on some of the stuff that's ongoing. But at the heart, this is still a lore-based channel. I'm just doing more Boruto content right now because that's what the analytics says you guys want more of. I apologize for taking the last 100 seconds to kind of get all that off my chest, but I thought it was important to try and clear up some of the misconceptions I still see out there. So let's get back to the video itself, because there's still a couple more points that I want to get into. Ada can't control Daemon, and she's someone who said herself that she doesn't care or enjoy about fighting. She finds it barbaric, and she said that she isn't super skilled at fighting. She said her taijutsu level is only basic taijutsu, despite her being one of those cyborgs that Jigen wanted to destroy due to their combat power levels exceeding his own, which, reminder, none of her powers affect Jigen, so Jigen had no reason to be scared of her. She can't see him when he uses Sukuna Hikona. Her charm powers to control hearts, they don't affect Jigen, and even if she controlled the hearts of all the other car inners and they ganged up on Jigen, he killed them all if he's at full power. And she can't control omnipotence, and even if she could, at the end of the day, Jigen would be immune because Jigen is Ishiki's vessel. Jigen is 100% Otsutsuki, so nothing she could do with omnipotence would work on him. With Ada, we're essentially in the position with Byakugo Seal's Sakura. If she went up against War Kabuto or Edo Nagato or 7th Gate Might Guy, it doesn't matter. We have confirmation that directly scales her to 1/3 of 6-path Sage Mode Naruto. She's not winning that fight because she's going to rely too much on needing them to stand still and land a direct punch against them. Because in this instance, you have people that they're skilled enough to make up for that power gap. Daemon rushing in to protect Himawari because she's someone he sees as having the potential to allow him to fight at full power one day. It's something you could make work narratively, and it would set up a plot twist with Bug getting his hands on Ada, because Matsuri and Bug, they were nowhere to be seen right now in this chapter. Again, I personally wouldn't do it. I would save Daemon for a fight against Bug, but Jura is being presented as enough of a boss it could allow us to see Daemon using his full power and inject some more tension into the story while simultaneously allowing us to build up Himawari's hidden power, getting a proper reveal which got teased to us at the end of the last chapter. You can see my thoughts by watching the chapter review you see on the screen.